The WTA had seen big crowds before. They had witnessed the fervor of the Williams sisters' prime. They had experienced the global phenomenon of Naomi Osaka. They had even felt the electricity of Canadian fans during Bianca Andreescu's magical run. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared them for what happened in Toronto. The stands of Sobeys Stadium were designed to hold 10,077 people. On Wednesday night, every single seat was filled. Not a single empty spot remained in the entire arena. But the WTA hadn't just been stunned by the sheer volume of the crowd. It was the noise that left them speechless. It was the sea of Philippine flags that covered the stadium like a blanket of national pride. It was the passion that turned a tennis match into what felt like a rock concert, a boxing match, and a celebration all rolled into one. "I don't understand," one tournament official whispered, shaking their head. "She's not even in the top 10. But she has the biggest crowd I've ever seen." Carl Hale, the tournament director, had seen it all. But even he was caught off guard. "A sold-out Wednesday night this early in the tournament is really unheard of," he admitted. The phones had rung off the hook. Tickets vanished in under 30 minutes. The organizers had to move Eala's match from the 2,800-seat grandstand to the main center court because she had probably sold upwards of 5,000 tickets. The WTA didn't see it coming. The world didn't see it coming. But 15,000 fans packed into the stadium, and thousands more outside, knew exactly why they were there. They were there for Eala, and they had come to show the world what Filipino pride truly means. The statistics alone are staggering. When the National Bank Open organizers announced Alexandra Eala's first match, they had no idea what was about to happen. The phones rang constantly. The tickets vanished in under 30 minutes. A session that rarely sells out in the early rounds, especially on a Wednesday night, was completely packed. Probably sold upwards of 5,000 tickets. Tournament director Carl Hale told Tennis Channel. His words were not an exaggeration. The 2,800-seat grandstand court simply wasn't large enough to accommodate the demand. Eala's match had to be moved to center court to avoid leaving thousands of fans disappointed. Diane Castillo, a Filipina journalist and former tennis player who has been traveling with Eala, described the scene as a super, wild Filipino crowd. "The loudest I have ever heard. It felt like it was in the Philippines. Incredible." The energy was unlike anything she had witnessed in her years of covering tennis. The comparison to Manny Pacquiao was inevitable. Just as the boxing legend had drawn massive Filipino crowds to arenas around the world, Eala was now doing the same, but in a sport that had never seen anything like it. Danilo Baluyat, the executive director of Toronto's Taste of Manila event, confirmed the sentiment. "She's being branded as the next Pacquiao." Even the tournament volunteers were caught up in the excitement. According to Hale, several volunteers who had been given tickets for the Wednesday night session had to exchange them for future sessions because the demand was so high. It was unprecedented. It was chaotic. And it was a testament to what Alexandra Eala had become, not just a tennis player, but a cultural phenomenon. The Filipino community in Toronto, which numbers over 270,000 according to the 2021 census, had turned out in full force. They were not just spectators. They were participants. They waved flags. They chanted. They created an atmosphere that left even the most seasoned tennis observers in awe. As the fans poured into Sobeys Stadium, something remarkable happened. The arena, which typically hosted a more reserved tennis crowd, was transformed into something entirely different. It was part boxing match, part rock concert, and part family reunion. At least a dozen large Philippine flags were draped over railings in boxes and the upper deck. Fans wore T-shirts with the words, "Fight, Believe, Represent." Parents held their children, some carrying signs with messages of support. "Past my bedtime, but cheering for you, Alex," read one sign. The most striking sight was the sheer diversity of the crowd. Young and old, families and groups of friends, longtime tennis fans, and those who had never stepped foot in a tennis stadium before. Michaela Saturio, a Filipino Toronto resident, brought her father and aunt to the tournament because they didn't want to miss the opportunity to witness Eala in person. Warren Paul Katakutan, a Filipino from Toronto, organized a group gathering to watch Eala. He designed custom white T-shirts for his friends, with Alex Eala written on the front and the words, "Rise, Believe, Inspire." Alex is putting the Filipino community on the map, and giving inspiration to everyone, Katakutan said. The atmosphere was so electric that even the food offerings got into the spirit. One vendor changed a dish from chicken teriyaki to a Filipino chicken adobo rice bowl in honor of Eala playing. It was, according to Hale, the first time he had ever heard of a tournament adding a food offering midway through just because of a player. The energy inside the stadium was infectious. Eala, who thrives on the support of her fans, fed off the noise. "It's the pleasure of my life to experience crowds like this," she said after her match. The fans responded in kind, their chants of "Let's go Alex" echoing throughout the arena. Even play-by-play announcer Mark Pecci was stunned by what he witnessed. "It's the kind of noise that accompanies a Grand Slam win, and this is just the second round here in Toronto," he said on the WTA Tour World Television feed. But with great passion comes great controversy. The energy of the Filipino crowd, while celebrated by many, also sparked a debate about tennis etiquette that quickly went viral. Traditional tennis crowds are known for their silence during points. Spectators are expected to remain still and quiet until the point is over, allowing players to concentrate without distraction. The Filipino fans in Toronto, however, brought a different energy, one more reminiscent of basketball or volleyball, where cheering throughout the action is common. Some viewers criticized the fans for shouting during points, arguing that the noise went against traditional tennis etiquette and could distract the players. One commenter described it as disappointing that people are shouting between points, before adding, "But man, what a crowd." Others pushed back against the criticism, arguing that tennis should welcome the enthusiasm of new audiences. One person called the atmosphere the new normal and said the sport needs to evolve as more communities become invested in it. The debate highlighted what Eala's success could mean for the sport. Many of the fans coming to watch her may be attending professional tennis for the first time. However, the players themselves had nothing but praise for the support. Jessica Pegula, who lost to Eala in the DC Open final, revealed that her Players Box podcast gained approximately 4,000 to 5,000 subscribers following the match. She acknowledged that Filipino fans were helping tennis grow internationally. Leylah Fernandez, the Canadian player with Filipino heritage, also praised the community. "The fan base is super amazing, loving," Fernandez said. "It's a super loving community." She described the atmosphere as giving her goosebumps during player introductions. Eala herself had no complaints about her fans' energy. When asked about the noise, she embraced it wholeheartedly. "Thank you to everyone who's supporting tennis and creating atmospheres like this," she said. "It's really the pleasure of my life to experience these things." The crowd in Toronto was not an isolated incident. It was part of a growing cultural phenomenon that has followed Eala around the world. From Australia to Dubai, from Washington to Wimbledon, the Filipino diaspora has shown up in force to support their champion. The comparison to Manny Pacquiao's apartment. Like the boxing legend, Eala has become a symbol of Filipino pride and resilience. She represents the possibility that a child from a developing country can rise to the top of a global sport. She carries the weight of a nation on her shoulders, and she does it with grace and humility. Rosemary Ami Seaborn, who works with the Taste of Manila event, captured this sentiment perfectly. "The one thing about Alex that everybody's proud about is that she acknowledges being Filipino in every event. She will correct your question and say, 'I think what you should ask me is if I'm proud of being Filipino and being here.' She has embraced it. I think she's really proud of what's happening." Eala's connection with her fans is deeply personal. After her victory over Parks, she addressed the crowd in Tagalog. "Kamusta tayo ngayon, Toronto? Wagaway nayo ngayong mga bandila nayo, patinjan," she called out, encouraging them to wave their flags proudly. She continued in her native language, "Alam nayo mga kababayan, lingo kayo kayong nakikita. Sinusuportahan ako. Lingo kayo nakikita kung gaano nayo kamahal ang kapwa niyong Pinoy. Kaya proud na proud ako maging Pinoy." The message was clear. Eala sees her fans, she appreciates them, and she shares their pride in being Filipino. It is this connection that has transformed her from a tennis player into a cultural icon. Even a dinosaur fan has joined the movement. A person in a dinosaur costume was spotted in the stands during Eala's first-round match and returned for her second-round match, carrying the Philippine flag and cheering for the Filipina star. "Wow, what a legend," Eala said with a laugh. It was such a light, funny spin to kind of like how people support me. It just comes out in very unique ways. As the Canadian Open continues, one thing is clear: the phenomenon of Eala-mania is only getting started. The Filipino community in Toronto has shown that they will show up in force for their champion, and tournament organizers are taking notice. Carl Hale, the tournament director, has already acknowledged that the demand for Eala is unprecedented. "Alex is an absolute blessing to the sport of tennis at our tournament," he said. "So it's an amazing tournament to have her here playing singles and doubles with Venus Williams." Eala's success in Toronto is part of a larger pattern. Her historic DC Open triumph, her run to the round of 16 at Wimbledon, and now her sold-out matches in Canada. All of it has combined to create a movement that transcends tennis. Andy Roddick, the former world number one, has been one of the most vocal observers of this phenomenon. "Eala-mania is fun," he said on his podcast. "When you have watch parties in arenas around your country for a fourth-round match, that's something special." Eala's popularity has the potential to turn millions of Filipinos into committed tennis followers, a development that could transform the sport's global reach. The impact goes beyond the sport itself. Women's tennis has long struggled to attract the same level of attention as men's tennis. But Eala is helping to change that. As Fernandez noted, "For a long time we've been fighting that it is exciting to watch women's sports. And to be able to see more and more people come and watch, especially with their kids, and see them with a big smile on their faces, it's also a reason why I personally play the sport and continue competing." As Eala advances deeper into the tournament, the crowds will only grow larger, and the WTA will be forced to reckon with a new reality. The sport has a new star, and she comes with an army behind her.